Testing. 1, 2, 3. Let me unmute. Testing. 1, 2, 3. And hope that I get the sound well. What I want to be able to do is kind of live journal. um, as I'm again checking the sound and all the things. Maybe I'll give a little, I don't know, background. Well, today has been a really heavy day, actually, and in my personal life and professional life, so it's kind of like the intermingling of work that I tend to do. And that's, something that a lot of people don't get. They get it, but they don't get it. So what I mean is some people don't discover their passion, their true passion, and have it as a job. And, then of course your passion is going to drive you to want to continue to do more and more and more. But too many times I'm seeing lots of people around me who they work really hard, but then they don't actually have the passion, or they've realized, like, who am I? Of course, your passion is going to drive. So I was just double checking. So yeah, I can hear what I need to hear. And I'm just I'm having a heavy day, and it's been a big buildup, and ironically it is a full moon tonight. Technically started yesterday, but today, like as I looked out the window behind me and saw a big beautiful moony moon back there, and most of us who are time to release what's been built up, and a lot of things personally have been coming to a head, not necessarily in a bad way, but it's almost like, as Joseph Murphy says, I always forget, Joseph, there's like so many thought leaders that have the name either James or Joseph. So there's Joseph Murphy, there's James Hall, I think. James Allen, no. I'm thinking of a different someone. I hope I didn't get myself away. But yeah, so I need to really, really look into that quote. But it's something to the effect of the treasure you seek is in the darkest cave that you're in. Okay, so I know I'm totally butchering it, but it's basically, because it scares you, that's exactly why you need to do it, because it scares you. And I'm hoping that more people start tapping into that for themselves. Tapping into your intuition, and I've been doing lots of work, I hope meditation, which, you would think I would be a little bit more scientific about some of this, but I just kind of haven't, because it kind of needs to be messy, and it kind of needs to be lived, right? And I can't always predict when I need to, do certain things to help strengthen my intuition. Sometimes you just have to live your life and know that, oh, okay, this is a time to work on it, right? Get that inner work in. And then sometimes there are opportunities that
You're just like, ah, do I really have to do this now? It's almost like, it's almost like the chore. As much as we study in this field of personal development and, also exploring non-duality and spirituality, we tend to, I don't know, it's like think a lot, first of all, and then there's always this thing of like, oh, I know what to do, but I really have to do it. It's like, yes, you really have to do it.
And that's kind of where I think I am now. It's like as much as I've been saying it and really trying to feel it and start working on
Techniques and strengthening them, but without the real test per se to happen. Now that I'm coming across more opportunities to test out trusting my intuition, it can be scary. And because we've hardwired ourselves and we've been programmed as well to ignore our feelings, to ignore them. And even me as a Black woman, been basically taught, a Gen X or whatever, to ignore what you feel, even down to physical pain. Okay. So even if you're a woman, you know what I'm saying. Pretend like it doesn't hurt. Oh, it's all in your mind. You go to a doctor, you seeking, help or guidance, and they're like, oh, well, you're just making it up. The whole even
word itself, hysteria, right? We we have been taught not to.
and then there's even more levels of this amongst women of color, to ignore your pain. Okay. So much goes into this kind of inner work where you have to stop having the pain to the point where you've got to confront the the pain makers, basically, right? So you kind of have to stand up to your bullies, your fears, and challenge those who you want to blame, right? And this is about accountability as well in inner work. When you no longer are going to be okay just blaming other people for your shortcomings, it becomes real and really real and scary, where you have to acknowledge that you've been your own demon, and you have to know that it wasn't purposeful, it was taught to you to self criticize, to again ignore your feelings when it's okay to feel all your feelings. So, yeah, so like I said, I'm having some realness, and it's very meta too. And because my work and my life is almost one and the same in a lot of ways. It plays out amongst others in different locations. Um, still an educator, and seeing the awakening of trusting yourself and the chain reaction that could happen. So, something I've been holding for a long time, I finally had that opportunity to let it out and see that I wasn't crazy, basically, right? And that maybe if I continue to trust myself, more things will come to light. Because if we don't confront our shadows, really our inner demons or whatever you want to call them, if you don't actually start looking deep into that dark, I mean, deep into that dark without the light,
And knowing
its expansiveness, without trying to cover it over, then wow, this is how deep I care. And this is where like antithesis type thinking comes into play. I do believe that we've been trained and programmed in this
so much that however deeply we harm ourselves is equally deeply that we do actually love ourselves. And we get taught that doing certain things to, I guess, punish ourselves or to criticize ourselves or even
blaming others. It's like we don't
see how deep, how far, how vicious we can be to our own self. I know some people would call that self-hatred. But if we are a reflective mirror type universe, then maybe that's also as deeply and as viciously that we could love ourselves too. Where we go deep into how powerful we are. I've been having a lot of chats with my littles, my 7 and 8 year olds. So like, and I don't hold back. I am real with them. And one of the two conversations I had this week already, it's only Tuesday, y'all. So yeah, big feelings have been had. Okay. So one of the conversations that I'm trying to have as age appropriate as possible and maturity appropriate as possible with this one child is that he has choice and he is more powerful and he does not have to give away his power to be loved. He can still be loved being his best self and not doing things for attention. This looks and sounds so familiar in my eyes, in my growing up. When as a teenager, I'm just going to put it out there. Yeah, I was eccentric and I celebrated it, quite honestly. Unfortunately,
I was glad. In fact, that's why
music moniker is what it is. Nerd queen. Okay? I like it. I eat it up, okay? And I just I understand that people want to belong, right? And they want to feel like people care about them and that people will um, take care of them. And lots of people have done things to, do like to show that I am lovable, I am keepable.
no, I'll do this and that if it gets me the attention I want and need, right? But then they don't trust themselves. And how hard. And I think when I say deep and in my antithesis type thinking, I'm talking about energy. And that's the only reason why I can at least label what I'm saying, because a lot of people use quantitative language. So I have to say negative for you to understand positive. But what I'm really saying is energy. So if you know anything about integers, energy, that's what I mean. It's like you're putting the same amount of energy
Towards hating yourself, that means you can use that same amount of energy for loving yourself. And there is a switch, a circuit switch to tap into your power. And it first is, yeah, you got to be honest with yourself and you got to start doing
flicking that switch a little bit.
or at least knowing how to begin, because I seriously, again, back to me being messy here in my own inner journeys. I kind of was like, I don't know. I started the inner work journey, set up my little notebook and stuff, even drew out like this one graphic. And this was long before the shutdowns, friends. Okay. So I knew I had to, so again, me back to like, oh, I knew I had to do it. I think I had it waiting for me like 2018 or something like that. But yeah, I had that little notebook and I had it tucked it away somewhere and still, lived the life or whatever. And it was not, it was almost like maybe, in fact, I don't know. Let me go find that notebook. I have it somewhere. But I didn't start it after the shutdowns. I did start it. I started it because there were things that like were seeding, like budding up in me, right? And I was like, let me go ahead and, or actually start looking in here. And I don't know, even with that graph that I drew into the uh, notebook, how to go about doing any of that. Like, I didn't even know the vocabulary around it, and to this day, I honestly don't know where I got that thing from. Like, I wrote it because, or copied it because I liked it. It looked cool, right? And I was still in a phase of my spirituality where, it's fun and it's all, well, it's not like it's not now, but I just feel like it was kind of like a costume to wear, right? And I was, still in that phase where it's like it's fun to be witchy and it's fun to be fanciful, and those kind of things. And I have it, I always put um a post-it just in case I want to, make things different with a particular journal. And this post-it says, "Who do I need to become?" Mm-hmm. And this inner work for me is about basically, getting to the heart of it all. So again, let's see. Yeah. So I drew this whole little thing. Maybe I'll take a picture of this and have it as the screensaver or screenshot of this video. But yeah, I drew it. Like it was like, there's like still a lot of people who are Christian and they are, doing things like vision boards and stuff like that. But I was still at that phase where it was like, oh, this is fun. This is fun. This is fun. And I didn't know it could be so much more, right? So I did, have the mind enough to at least write out some of these things. So it does seem union now that I see this. And see, that's the thing. Sometimes we do things that we don't know why we're doing them at the time, but then it starts coming back to you because it's like your body, no, no, not your body, your mind that you detach yourself from because you're too busy living in a 3D world forgets like why did I do that? Like, that kind of thing. And yeah, as I'm looking back through this particular journal, like I said, I started this. Let me see. I'm looking for now it was kind of, I mean, I had to kind of make it a little more freestyly because again, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with it. Um, oh, that's funny. So I put things in it like again, tarot cards, even though I had known nothing about tarot cards, okay? Nothing, like seriously. And at the time, and I'm learning, but again, at the time I was like, I had no business messing with stuff that and that's one of those things where all the tools are there, the propaganda have been put out there for people to be like, oh, this is demonic and this and that or whatever. Yeah, if demon means your inner demons, right? So we all have them, inner demons. So you need the bait or whatever, the hook or something to pull them out. So that's what, and you can take that and, do what you got to do. So yeah, so it's like I was doing stuff that I was going through the motions, just like babies. When babies are learning to walk and talk, they babble, right? Because they hear sounds, they don't recognize what they are, but they know something's going on when you make the sounds. So that's kind of where I was with this. And I just started kind of free journaling. And then as things started to gel, come together more, of course, I would use more post-its because, again, I was like, I'm not quite sure how this is going to work. And I also have other journals, by the way, so it's not like this is like the only one. So I have an inner work journal, and then I have what is called a life book. Um, I have also, even things for home improvement things, because again, Lord knows, whew, if you own a home, you will always have things to work on. But anyway, and it does put you through some things emotionally. So yeah, so it was almost like my body at this time, going back to this journal that I pre-prepped before I actually needed it, or it was like my intuition was my mind was moving my without and giving me, I guess, the sugary part of it. Just like, again, back to a baby analogy, it's like babies, when they notice the difference between sweet and bitter, they prefer the sweet, right? And so you kind of have to put the medicine into the sweet so that the baby can get the medicine. So with that, it's like, of course, there's going to be people drawn to the fancifulness of the occult and those things of that nature, but it's the medicine's there, and the propaganda had been put, centuries, millennia, excuse me, I was going to say centuries, but millennia, but long before we even got here. So the path had been set to where people didn't want humans to have what we already have, and we had to be blinded to what we have. And so blinding ourselves is things like self-doubt, and yeah, basically self-doubt, and in a collective societal self-doubt that the world is not enough, and you got to go fight somebody and things like that. You got to go manipulate people, or you got to cry, or you got to go hit somebody with a stick so that the teacher will give you a talking to, so stuff like that. This is where hopefully we just start realizing, like, just be, you know and it's hard when people around you, and this is where I guess I am starting to see some, maybe I don't want to say pushback necessarily, but just knowing, like, ooh, you're still in the 3D land, ma'am. So you still have to play by the rules, even though the rules are kind of silly, but you still got to play by the rules, right? And you still kind of have to be like, yeah, okay, so you still kind of have to, play the game. And I'm just kind of like, oh gosh, seeing how things are playing out. Yes, I know, again, this is more like my journal. So anyone who's still, watching, listening, you definitely have gotten keys to the kingdom, the queendom, excuse me. And yeah, it's been an interesting 2 days so far. Actually, well, even beyond that, because like I said, I've been dealing with some other more personal things as well, and I'm really just starting to address them now. And it's helpful to, even though, like I said, I knew what to do, but I just was still trying to put it off until now.
here we are. We need to do this. It needs to happen. And I don't know, it could be fearful, it could be enriching, but it's definitely not boring. I'll tell you that, you know? And I feel like I'm at a level that I could easily see how a lot of people want to be like, oh, I can't be in the world anymore, or they just completely lose it. And I, again, back to me saying, like, remember, you're in 3D land and you got to play the game. And that's what I had to have that conversation with my other young friend today, too, where she's had lots of trauma. And I'm, serious in that I have to feel as though I want to give her as much truth as possible and that she's been strong for herself to get to where she is now and to not give up. That this world is telling us to self doubt when really she has that magic, that spark inside of her, that I see it and in her. And this is where I feel like, as being an educator, I don't want to say cross the line, but it's like that we definitely, first of all, we don't do it for the money, y'all. Okay, we do it for the passion. We really do. And at one point in time, at least for this particular child, I really worry for her life, like her very life, heartbeat. Okay. And I just want to find a way to help keep her from the self destruction that a lot of people who look like me and her will tend to put ourselves through, because the world around us in 3D land, we still have to live here. So yeah, being spiritual, as it had it been said by Stan Lee, with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah, that spidey sense. And that's how I roll, y'all. Full circle.
That is how I roll.